Imagine if videos and films had no sound. No music, no dialogue. It'd feel kinda empty, right? That's because sound isn't just an enhancement, it's truly its own experience. Today I want to dive into the world of sound design, where it began, how it's used, and why you should use it in today's seemingly endless world of video content. In the 1920s, films were completely silent. Theaters relied on live music and sound effects to engage audiences. Then came 1927's The Jazz Singer.
Goodbye. Don't cry.
It revolutionized filmmaking by showing the world how powerful synchronized sound can be. Much like color did for the visual aspect of films, sound quickly transcended the industry and transported viewers into worlds in a more immersive way.
Relays in every manner of amplifying equipment to the
clumsy
recording.
or random as a blaster, an elegant weapon.
As cinema evolved, so did the art of sound. You have legendary designers like Ben Burtt from Star Wars and Walter Murch from Apocalypse Now, who carved a path for an entire subset of the film industry and pretty much made being a sound designer a full-time job at that point.
When the director talks to the cinematographer, that cinematographer is responsible for the look of the film. And that was not the case with sound. If there was a problem, people would say, well, it's his fault. Or no, that's his fault. And so there was this finger pointing, which we just wanted to eliminate. So what now is something that we call sound designer is the sound equivalent of production designer.
But what is sound design? According to Google AI, sound design is the process of creating and manipulating sounds to enhance the mood, atmosphere, and tone of a piece of media. But to me, it's more than that. It's a facet of video creation that I feel often gets overlooked by beginners, and at least from a filmmaker and editor standpoint, when you're just starting out, all you're trying to do is hone your craft. You're not thinking about what does this type of shoe sound like on this surface, or how does this door sound when you open it up in this scene. All you want to do is get better. It'd be like making a sandwich. I always go back to food. And literally just starting with the meat instead of starting by toasting the bread. Beginner editors and filmmakers simply aren't really thinking about sound that much, at least I know I wasn't when I first started. Now, I am by no means an expert in the world of audio. I kind of leave that to our audio engineer, Rob, who's awesome at it. But I've been directing, producing, and editing videos for about 7 years now. And the more I study about what makes a great image and story, the more I realize how much sound can shift your perspective and evoke that emotion that you're trying to get out of your audience. I believe that sound can really be broken down into 4 main categories. Number 1 is dialogue. This one is pretty self-explanatory, but should not be an afterthought. Clear, crisp, and emotionally impactful. Sometimes I'll turn on TV and look at a local ad, and I'll just have terrible audio, and it completely turns me off to the product or service. At that point, it doesn't really even matter to me if your product or service is good. If you can't get audio right for your local ad, I'm good.
When you are processing language, it is like a hungry cuckoo bird in that it eats all of the worms that are on offer, but you also don't pay conscious attention to anything that is not dialogue, for the most part.
Dialogue is important, people. That's why I sound crisp right now. Shout out to Rob. Number 2 is sound effects and overall ambience. Everything from gunshots to footsteps. This is an art form in itself. I've seen like the wildest objects be used to bring sounds that you would never expect to come from that object to life. There's some dude that I saw recently on Instagram Reels who uses celery to emulate wood creaking and wood cracking, and just the creative ways that people come up with to emulate these sounds is crazy. I try to capture live sound on set whenever we can, because there's just so many factors that come into play when trying to emulate a certain sound in post. Whether it's, if someone's running, the sound of their jacket rubbing up against itself when they're running, or a car door shutting. Sure, you can find a million car door slamming sounds online, but what kind of car is it? Are there trees in the background that are ruffling in the wind that's happening. To me, it's always harder to replicate that in post and make it realistic than just capturing it on set. So whenever you can, capture live audio. Number 3 is a big one, music. Consider how music enhances a film. At its simplest, it sets the mood, adding depth and reinforcing the filmmaker's intent for the scene. Motifs add another layer. Or motifs? Is it motifs or motifs? Short recurring sounds linked to an object, person, or emotion. Like a fluttering flute symbolizing love or a specific melody tied to an important object, like the ring in Lord of the Rings. These cues subtly guide the audience's associations. Music can also foreshadow, adding intrigue and encouraging speculation about events or character motives. Music can mislead, shaping perceptions without the audience even realizing. An ominous theme might make a character seem villainous, only to reveal their misunderstood intentions later. And in musicals, music can directly communicate a character's thoughts and emotion, blending facts with what you're feeling in a way that dialogue alone often can't achieve. Whether you're a TikToker or a Hollywood director, one thing remains true. Bad sound kills good video. Studies actually show that audiences will forgive bad video quality in favor of a good story. I've watched some really poorly shot movies, but they keep me hooked with their storytelling. I am less tolerant of poor audio quality. Obviously. I mentioned this earlier, but in the commercial world where we kind of live in, it can cheapen your brand and often turn clients off before they even know what your brand or product is. Sound design connects audiences to the story. It builds tension, delivers emotion, and immerses viewers in the world that you are creating. In today's content-driven age, it's the secret sauce that makes your work really stand out. I know I said I love capturing audio on site whenever we can, but when we can't, our Artlist subscription has paid for itself 10 times over. Artlist has a huge library of music and sound effects that can really take your projects to the next level. Sound design isn't just about making your video sound good. It's about making your audiences feel. Take A Quiet Place, where silence and sound effects were actually the backbone of the story. Or the Dune movies, which used intricate layers to create alien soundscapes. Now, when you're sound designing your next film or video, just remember the age-old rule. Good sound is sound you don't notice.